Hey everyone, hope you're doing well today. I'm really glad you're going to be watching, so thank you so much for that. If you're new or if you've been watching for a while, I just want to kind of let you guys know what the purpose of this video is, what the purpose of today is. What I want to do in this video is I want to let you guys know that I'm trying to provide something helpful for people. Um, that's I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about how I want to do these updates, and that's sort of the conclusion I've come to, and that's sort of what motivates me to make these now. But there is a secondary purpose of letting people know what's going on with me, and if this is your first time here, just know that's my intention behind all of this. So I hope this can be helpful directly or indirectly to you. Anyway, let's go ahead and actually get into the real health update here. Um, for those of you that haven't maybe seen these before, I'm going to go ahead and do the quick recap on everything that's happened so far. Several years ago, about 7 years ago now, I realized while I was at a tournament that I was really struggling to get out of bed. I was feeling very tired. I was, not really feeling like myself, a lot of brain fog, many other things. And I just wasn't playing like I, was supposed to. And I realized there was something abnormal about it. It wasn't a sleep issue like I thought. And so I decided to go to the doctor about it. I got diagnosed with low testosterone, went to an endocrinologist, tried to get more specialized work done and everything like that. And that didn't end up really panning out. Tried things like diet and everything else like that. It just didn't really work for me. And so I started trying to go in a more holistic fashion. And things did improve more once I did that. There weren't difficult side effects and other things like that once I started going that route. But the progress was still slow. Still, I took a little bit of time doing that, and then I got well enough to begin streaming and became more public in the Melee community 3.5 years ago. And you guys have been great to support me ever since then, which has been awesome. And at around the same time, I found a different person to work with, someone who was working holistically, but on an even better level. And I was able to afford that then, which was really nice. And so I started working in that way. And then I improved even further, and I started feeling self sufficient enough to find a new sponsor, find a new place to live, go through the moving process, even though, it was very difficult. And, moving for just anyone's often pretty stressful. And I talked more about that in the last update. So, some nuance taken away. That's where we are as of the last update, July last year. So now let's kind of talk about, what's happened since July last year, right? It's 2022. And I want to start with some good news. Um, for the longest period of time so far, since all of this has started, I've been able to run 6 days a week. I've been taking Sundays off, but I've been running 6 days a week. And, especially once I got over the halfway mark in terms of the week, it would be difficult. And, I wasn't still getting a full mile every day, but, I was getting closer to a full mile than before. Whereas before I was getting about 6/10 of a mile, now I was getting up to about 8/10. And so I really liked having something concrete, something specific that I could mark and say, this is my progress, and this is how I know that my body is moving along. And I think that can be really helpful if you are working with something long term to be able to point to something to say, hey, this is going better for me. I can see this. The numbers are not lying. But let's talk about things that are maybe a little bit more challenging, a little bit more difficult. And that would be kind of about what's gone on for pretty much all of this calendar year. And it started out, I started realizing I might fumble my words here a little bit. This is a bit difficult to talk about, but I'm going to do my best. Um, I started having more realizations about deeper pains that I've had, not in the context of Melee, but outside of it. Um, and particularly two instances of very deep pains. And I've talked about one a little, I've alluded to one a little bit before. And so I was realizing there were more things, there were more deep things, more deep hurts contributing to what was going on in my physical and emotional space. And as I started trying to sort out what this meant for me, how to navigate these feelings, and reorganize how I thought about myself, I found a different person to work with earlier this year. And this person was someone who thought it would be beneficial to work in person. And so I agreed, but we took, a few months to get to know each other first because this was going to be very personal work. And I wanted to make sure I knew how they worked and everything else. And I also wanted them to understand, as many things about me as they could. And so, that roughly started in March, April with them. And then I went to see them in July. And then after that, I returned to the original person I was working with because I got most of the value I needed there. But yeah, it was a big leap of faith because you're entrusting someone that you haven't known as long with something really personal. And I don't think I could advise that for everyone. Um, but I took time to really ascertain that, and I really felt things were okay with this person. And they had talked about how they had worked with a lot of other people and it had been fine. But I think maybe, a more general takeaway that, if you're more concerned about safety with these sorts of situations, I think as long as you're always looking for solutions or you feel like, you really need something different, you really want to find a new way to tackle something, I think things will come up with when the way they're meant to. Um, but talking a little bit, I'm not going to go into super deep specifics. Partly because it's difficult and partly because I don't want things to be difficult for anyone listening. But while I was there, one of the first things that I did working with this person in person is we wore my body down with physical activity, um, which wasn't necessarily the hardest, but it took longer than either of us expected. And I think the reason the reason we did that, the reason we tired myself some was because um, my body is often tensed up in a lot of ways that I'm not always noticing. I mean, the number of times I got told to drop my shoulders while I was there was well over 20. I don't remember the exact count, but 20, 30, 40, 50 times, when we're doing various things, drop the shoulders. So, but there were tension in all kinds of places, and the shoulders are just one place that I was really holding it, and probably still do. Um, and so but this tension keeps me from feeling things and being connected with my body more. And so, to be able to kind of not hold, we had to make myself tired first. But then we're doing a lot of deep emotional work after that. So it was a very difficult period of time. So from July 14th to about July 21st, that was, when we were doing that really deep work, and some of the hardest days of my life were up there. So very challenging work, but I was really committed and I really wanted to do it. And the person respected that I was going for that. Um, but yeah, on the other side of that, when I'm coming back, I felt I felt very vulnerable. And it's not really a word I like to use to describe myself, and it's not really a word I want to say to you all now, but it is the most accurate word, and it might be beneficial to me to admit it. And I was just very full of feelings, and I really needed time to calm down, and it made doing things for Gigi or just generally harder. So that's why I've kind of maybe pulled back on some responsibilities and pulled back on doing more regular YouTube videos and things like that because I really need time to recalibrate and figure out um, how I am now and to just kind of let things settle. Um, I struggle with this section and talking about this part because I don't want to give a bunch of examples and try to make myself look better. Like, okay, yes, I'm feeling this way, but like this is how I'm doing. I'm handling it better than other people or whatever, right? I don't want to do any of that. Um, and that's because I don't want to put anyone else down, right? But I also don't want to try and defend it or make it look any different, and just kind of give you guys the facts as I see them to the extent that I feel I can reasonably give them without causing any issues. And so I hope you guys can understand why I might not be giving more specifics in that regard. But all that said, and one more thing, I do think this can be a good example for other people for me to just say, hey, I am I do feel vulnerable, and it's going to be okay. Things are getting better, and maybe, and that, I think that can be powerful for people. So that's my hope with this. Um, but things have been improving in that regard, and I want to kind of talk about good things now, good things, especially on the other side of that trip in July. And I want to kind of talk about how I've been feeling more feelings. Been feeling happier about things, especially if I get more sleep, which has been more difficult, as you could imagine. But if I am getting more sleep, I notice that I am, much more personable. I'm enjoying things more when I can. I'm just feeling more feelings in general, which I think is just a really good sign. I think things were more flat, or if I felt things more, it'd be more on the negative end, but that's not so much the case now. It's still maybe the case, but it's lessening, is my point. And some more good news. I've lost weight since the last update. Like I said, things were very stressful last year, and they do continue to be this year. But I'm still working to do my best for my body that I can, and I found more ways to optimize my diet and everything else. So happy to say that I've been losing weight, and I'm doing my best to continue to do that. And that weight loss started, in the last 2 months, really after my trip, and so there's certainly good things that have been coming from that as well. Um, and I really want to leave you guys with a piece of really, I think, exciting news about how I'm feeling. I still do have a lot of fatigue and things like that, but there is an interesting counterforce that I'm feeling. I want to tell you guys about that. And that is, I started feeling this like hyped up feeling inside myself, and almost like an intensity in my heart, not in a bad way, in a good way. A desire to, and I felt a desire to, do things, and make things happen. And, I haven't had that feeling in years and years. But coming back from that trip, I have started to feel that so much more, and it's been growing in intensity, and that's honestly part of the reason I had struggle sleeping sometimes. Is I'll lay down, and then it'll come up more. It's just all through the inside of my body, and I think that's a really exciting thing. But it's interesting because I'm still trying to recalibrate from the experience, right? I'm trying to rest, make sure everything's okay, and at the same time there is a feeling of excitement internally. So that's really exciting. I'm really glad I get to share that with you guys. I hope take that as a good sign and don't see all of this as like a giant step back. I think there's plenty more nuance, and I think this is overall a very good thing that is happening here. But yeah, so I'm very happy about that, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. But yeah, I'm all of this to say I'm working hard on it, but I'm also taking time to be easy on myself too. And I really encourage so many people out there that are the super hardworking type to rest and balance and everything like that. You see it in melee that a lot of people that are working super duper duper hard, like the rest comes, but maybe not in a way they'd always like, right? So it can be kind of good to go easy on yourself and find that balance in a way that works well for you. Just something to encourage for anyone on wherever they might be in their path. Um, and a note about these updates overall. Um, I don't know when or if I'm gonna do another one of these. As you can tell, the content of them is proving to be challenging sometimes, but also maybe there won't be need for another one. I'm not sure. So we're gonna kind of see where it goes. But things are coming along, and I think that's the most important thing here. And I think if you're just kind of looking at me and listening to me, you can kind of tell it's different than a year ago, right? Um, and I wanted to kind of include one more useful thing, one more piece of advice, if you'll allow me. For anyone listening, I do think it can be good to talk about what you're struggling with people you trust sometimes. Being able to trust, I think, is a really valuable thing. It really, really can validate your feelings and really make you feel seen and understood. And that doesn't take away your own agency and how you need. It's still very important to trust yourself. But for me, it's been a really, really helpful thing to be able to speak when I need to and where I need to and how I need to, right? And this is another example of that, this update. Um, but yeah, I just want to thank you guys again for watching and listening to this very different health update, but hopefully a very exciting one. And I will see you guys around. Thank you so much. See ya.